There is an old saying that goes, "When the student is ready, the master appears." Today, I invite you to understand one of the most profound pillars of occult wisdom, the 7 Hermetic Principles, derived from the legendary emerald tablets created by Hermes Trismegistus, also known as the Egyptian god of wisdom. Each of these principles is a key, and together they form the master key that opens all the doors of the Temple of Mysteries. This video is a compilation of 7 videos, each one explaining one of the 7 principles in detail, so that by the end, you too can have the master key in your hands. Hermetic principles are the foundation upon which this universe was created. Understanding these principles is understanding how the universe works. However, whoever masters these principles becomes the master of their own reality. You will notice that these principles complement each other and that their order is not random. The principle of mentalism. Today we are going to delve deeper into one of the fundamental pillars of Hermeticism, the first of the 7 Hermetic principles, known as the principle of mentalism. He states that everything is mind, the universe is mental. This apparently simple phrase carries a universe of implications. What does it really mean to say that all is mind? That the universe is ultimately a mental construct? That our experiences are mere reflections of our thoughts? Today, we will explore the true power behind this principle and its confirmation in modern physics. This principle not only opens the doors to the other 6 pillars of Hermes Trismegistus, but reveals to us a secret that completely transforms our way of seeing and interacting with the universe. When we affirm that all is mind, we enter into the mystery that the universe, all that is, was, and will be, is a manifestation of the universal mind, what the Hindus call Vishnu's dream. Each of us is an intrinsic part of this manifestation, so let's explore this deeply. For once we understand the first law, the doors to the mysteries of spirit begin to open. To begin with, it is essential to understand what the term mentalism means. According to Kybalion, the best-known book on Hermeticism, mentalism reveals that reality is not physical, nor made of solid and tangible matter, as we imagine. Rather, it is a mental construct, a creation of the universal mind, the all. Imagine that every element you see, touch, and feel is part of a vast mental projection, a vision that many associate with the concept of the Matrix. This universe, which seems so concrete to us, is an elaborate construction that emerges from consciousness. The ancient masters of Hermeticism teach us that there is an unbreakable connection between our individual mind and this universal mind. In other words, we are sparks of the mind of the all. When you think, create, and imagine, you are using the power of a mind that is ultimately part of universal consciousness. However, this profound thought raises a question. If we are sparks of the all, why do we feel so far from the universal mind? What prevents us from realizing this connection in our daily lives? The answer lies in another Hermetic maxim. Our human mind, limited by individual experiences, conditioning, and perceptions, is obscured by the illusion of separateness. Several spiritual and philosophical traditions share this idea. Buddha taught that everything we are is the result of what we think. Our mind is everything. This directly echoes the Hermetic principle. Today, science begins to follow a path that reveals the depths of the mind and its influence on reality. Physicist Max Planck, known as the father of quantum physics, stated, "I consider consciousness to be fundamental. I consider matter to be derived from consciousness." The principle of mentalism finds a fascinating reflection in the famous double-slit experiment, initially conducted by physicist Thomas Young in the early 19th century and revisited in more depth as quantum science advanced. The experiment is simple. A particle, such as an electron, is fired at a barrier with two slits. On the other side of the barrier, there is a screen to record the particle impact pattern. When scientists try to predict the behavior of this particle, something extraordinary happens. If no one observes the electron, it behaves like a wave, passing through both slits simultaneously and creating an interference pattern like ripples on a lake. However, when introducing a measurement to observe which slit the particle passes through, the electron decides to behave like a particle, choosing only one of the slits, eliminating the interference pattern and creating a pattern that indicates a defined trajectory. This phenomenon reveals that at a quantum level, the act of observing changes reality. The observer appears to interfere with the essential nature of the particle, forcing it to choose a specific state. This phenomenon goes beyond materialistic understanding and opens the door to deeper interpretations of the relationship between the mind and reality. The double-slit experiment confirms that observation, consciousness focused on a point, has the power to determine the state of things. And here is the great teaching of the first Hermetic law. Reality is malleable, subjective, susceptible to the conscious mind that observes, interacts, and creates. This is what Hermes Trismegistus pointed out millennia ago. Imagine the mind as a vast ocean, where each thought, each observation, acts like a stone thrown onto the surface of the water, creating ripples and affecting everything around it. When you direct your attention to something, you throw that stone and create movement, transforming potentiality into manifestation. Like the electron deciding to be a particle rather than a wave, this is the mental power that the Hermetic principle speaks of. The first Hermetic law reveals to us that the mind is the key to creation. But what happens when the power of this mind, our deepest and most creative strength, becomes dispersed and weakens? We live in an era where human attention has become the most coveted resource. Our energy, once focused on conscious creation, is being manipulated and consumed. And this is not a coincidence. In a world where our ability to create reality depends on the strength of our attention, controlling where that attention is directed becomes a form of power. Modern distractions, social media, constant notifications, advertising, and an endless stream of information act as silent thieves of our mental energy. This fragmentation of the mind distances us from our creative essence and turns us into mere reactors rather than authors of our own experiences. Studies show that excess information and constant stimuli alter our ability to concentrate and memorize in a lasting way, damaging our abilities to maintain focus over time. The mind loses its sharpness and clarity. It's as if our mental strength is a blade, and daily distractions wear it down, making it less sharp and effective. The average person's attention span is now comparable to that of a betta fish. In Hermetic teachings, attention is seen as a tool for creation. Imagine it as the concentrated light of a magnifying glass. When your attention is focused, you can focus all your energy on a single point, intensifying and manifesting what you want. But when this light is scattered, we lose the power to transform and direct our path. We become passive observers, submerged in a whirlwind of superficial stimuli. In addition to fragmenting focus, modern distractions subtly shape our subconscious. Everything we see and hear, even if it seems irrelevant, leaves a mark on our minds. In the silence of our unconscious, this information accumulates, forming beliefs, fears, and behavior patterns. And, as we have seen, the subconscious is a powerful creator of reality. By understanding how the subconscious influences our reality, we can begin the process of intentional reprogramming. This practice requires patience and repetition, as the subconscious is like fertile soil that needs to be plowed, nourished, and cared for. Positive affirmations, visualizations, and meditative practices help you remove deeply held beliefs and replace limiting patterns with a new view of yourself. For example, if you seek abundance in your life, you must identify and dissolve beliefs such as, "I am not worthy," or "the world is scarce." Then, through affirmations and visualizations, you plant new seeds like, "I am worthy of abundance and the universe is generous." Over time, this new programming begins to manifest itself in reality. The correspondence principle: as above, so below; as it is inside, so it is outside. This ancient Hermetic truth, expressed in the words of the Emerald Tablet, invites us to look beyond appearances, realizing that the microcosm and macrocosm are not separate entities, but two sides of the same universal reality. The same intelligence that forms the stars forms the atoms inside our bodies. Today, we will explore the depth of this universal law and how it connects with the latest advances in science and the ancient wisdom of mystics and philosophers throughout history. We will understand how this principle can be applied in our lives to become more complete and conscious beings. This law, known as the correspondence principle, states that reality, in all its dimensions, is structured in a fractal way. This Hermetic principle suggests that everything in the universe is connected and that each fragment of the whole reflects the whole. For example, the cells in our body carry the same genetic code that makes up the entire organism, and each cell, in a way, is a microcosm of the body. Likewise, the movement of galaxies resembles the movement of atoms and electrons in their nuclei, showing that universal laws are the same, whether on astronomical or subatomic scales. The law of correspondence teaches us to see the universe as a great mirror. If we want to understand reality, we first observe ourselves. Just as the macrocosm affects the microcosm, our internal state influences the world around us. And here, we find a powerful key. By transforming what is inside, we also transform what is outside. From a spiritual perspective, as above, so below, leads us to a deep understanding of the unity of everything. Jesus Christ, in his wisdom, said, "The kingdom of God is within you." Luke. Just as the cosmos contains within itself the potential for everything, the human being, in its inner microcosm, contains the seed of the divine. The human mind is, at the same time, an observer and a creation of the universe. Just as the cosmic whole is expressed in each atom, the human being is a reflection of the entire cosmos. As the Hermetic philosophy states, each person is a microcosm, a small universe that, when expanding, reaches and harmonizes with the great universe. This reveals the power and responsibility of taking care of your own mind, thoughts, and emotions. In doing so, we also take care of what is outside of us. The philosopher Plotinus stated that the more a man knows himself, the more he knows the universe and what lies beyond it. This idea echoes the Hermetic principle that to understand the cosmos, we must first uncover the universe within us. Spiritual philosophy teaches that our internal state, thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, acts as a lens that shapes the way we perceive the outside world. If we are at peace, we see the world with peace. If we are in conflict, the world around us appears hostile and inharmonious. This understanding reveals that the barriers we perceive between self and other, or between man and the universe, are illusory. In reality, we are part of a greater whole, and what happens inside us is in constant interaction with what happens outside us. Thus, by transforming the inner universe, we adjust our relationship with the outer universe. For mystics, understanding as above, so below, means recognizing that everything that exists in the cosmos also potentially exists within us. Carl Jung, a Swiss psychologist and student of symbolism, stated that the human being's personal unconscious is a reflection of the collective unconscious, a reservoir of images, ideas, and archetypes that shape our life experience. Just as the cosmos is in constant movement and transformation, the inner universe of each human being is dynamic and pulsating. By exploring this inner universe, the individual not only discovers aspects of themselves, but also connects with archetypal forces and universal truths that are part of the entire cosmos. Therefore, the spiritual journey is a journey of returning to this universal center that exists within us. Just as the principle of as above, so below affirms the correspondence between the macrocosm and the microcosm, it also suggests an integration between spirit and matter, between being and doing, between the internal and the external. Paracelsus, one of the great alchemists and natural philosophers, said that understanding oneself is the first step to understanding all things. For alchemists, the ultimate goal of self-knowledge is union with the whole. By transforming our inner lead, fears, doubts, limitations, into gold, wisdom, peace, self-mastery, we align ourselves with the divine flow of the universe. This is the alchemical process, the work of harmonizing what is above with what is below, and of seeing matter and spirit as one. The principle of correspondence invites us to see the universe as a series of layers and realities that reflect each other. He suggests that there is an intimate relationship between different planes of existence, and that what occurs on one level of reality has reflections, parallels, or resonances on others. In the context of the duality between spirit and matter, the second Hermetic law reveals that spirit and matter, although seemingly opposite, are in fact reflections of the same essential reality. The material world we experience is a reflection of forces, ideas, and laws that operate on the spiritual plane. So matter is like a shadow or expression of the subtle laws and energies of the spirit. According to the principle of correspondence, the spirit is the original or causal plane, where all ideas and energies originate. Matter, then, is the reflection of this origin, shaped according to the invisible laws and patterns of the spirit. Think of spirit as the source and matter as the image projected by that source. Matter only exists as a function of the presence and movement of this underlying spiritual energy. Thus, the visible world is shaped by the invisible forces of the spiritual plane. Much like a statue carved from an idea, this relationship between spirit and matter can be understood in nature itself. Consider DNA, a structure invisible to the naked eye, but which contains all the information necessary to create a complex physical organism. This relationship between DNA and the physical body is a reflection of the correspondence between the spirit as a source of information and energy, and matter as an expression of this essence. By aligning our mind and intentions with spiritual laws, we can influence and shape matter according to our will. However, this does not mean controlling or manipulating material reality. It is an alignment process. When we understand that matter is just a densification of the spirit, we realize that profound transformations occur when we operate directly on the spiritual plane. That is, at the level of our intentions, thoughts, and beliefs. An example of this is someone who desires prosperity. This abundance begins in the spirit through a mind that generates beliefs of self-esteem, confidence, and gratitude. By nurturing these spiritual and mental patterns, the reflection in the material world inevitably manifests itself, even if gradually and subtly. Life is a constant dance between spirit and matter, where the objective is not to deny one in favor of the other, but to recognize and harmonize both. True alchemy, then, lies in the integration of the spiritual world with material life, recognizing that every aspect of our physical existence has a spiritual reflection, and that every spiritual experience can be lived in matter. This means that the search for meaning and purpose, often associated with the spiritual plane, must have a practical expression in our daily lives. When we cultivate spirit through self-knowledge practices, such as meditation and introspection, we are simultaneously creating a stronger foundation for a fulfilling, meaningfully aligned material life. Finally, the principle of correspondence reminds us that the duality between spirit and matter is, in essence, an illusion created by our limited perception. Both are expressions of the same universal truth. Just as the light that passes through a prism is divided into different colors, the spirit manifests itself in matter without losing its original essence. This understanding allows for profound spiritual freedom, as we recognize that as we live fully on the material plane and honor physical life, we are also expressing spirit. The Hermetic principle, as above, so below, is not just a philosophical or esoteric concept, but manifests itself clearly and objectively in the phenomena of nature. When we look at the natural world, we see that the same structure and operational patterns that we find on small scales are repeated on much larger scales. This correspondence between the microcosm and the macrocosm is not merely symbolic. It is imprinted in the fundamental patterns that govern matter and energy. One of the most emblematic examples of as above, so below in nature is the phenomenon of fractals. Fractals are shapes that repeat at different scales and can be observed in both tiny objects and colossal structures. Fractal geometry is evidence that the same patterns that structure the universe in its vastness are found in the minutiae of the natural world. When we look at the universe with this fractal view, each small part appears to be a smaller scale version of the whole. Thus, as above, so below becomes not just a philosophical metaphor, but an observable phenomenon in the natural world. The principle of vibration. Imagine for a moment that everything around you, from the solid ground beneath your feet to the fleeting thoughts in your mind, is in constant motion, an eternal pulse of energy. Today, we delve into one of the most enigmatic and powerful laws in the universe, the law of vibration, the third Hermetic principle, which declares that nothing is at rest, nothing is static, everything vibrates. This law, which transcends cultures and traditions, is an essential key to understanding the hidden workings of the cosmos. From the ancient texts of Hermeticism to modern quantum physics, the idea that everything is in constant vibration has been a fundamental pillar for those seeking to unravel the mysteries of the universe. The law of vibration is the third of the 7 Hermetic principles, which form the basis of the spiritual teachings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. This law invites us to realize that movement is the essence of all creation, and that there is no true solidity in anything we perceive as matter. At its deepest level, everything is made of energy, and that energy is always in motion. This perception was revolutionary for ancient thought, going beyond what could be perceived by ordinary senses. The idea that everything vibrates is not exclusive to Hermeticism. It resonates across many spiritual traditions. In Hinduism, for example, in the Vedic texts, The sound Om is considered the primordial sound, the original vibration of creation that permeates the entire cosmos. The ancient Egyptians and Greeks believed that understanding this cosmic dance was essential to achieving harmony and wisdom, as they recognized that the universe was in a constant state of flux and transformation. Heraclitus, for example, stated that everything flows and that change is the only constant in life. For Hermeticism, vibration is the bridge between the visible and the invisible, between the physical and the metaphysical. Therefore, the law of vibration is fundamental to understanding the other Hermetic laws, as it allows us to understand how matter, mind, and spirit connect. Matter is frozen light. This material world is essentially light vibrating at an extremely low frequency. Each form of matter and energy has a specific frequency, and this frequency determines the characteristics and reality of each object, being, or thought. Today, modern physics confirms what the ancients intuited. In quantum physics, it is understood that the material world is composed of atoms and subatomic particles that are in constant movement and vibration. This ceaseless movement creates the reality we perceive, although it is much more fluid and impermanent than our senses would have us believe. For Einstein, who stated that everything in the universe is energy and vibration, the material world and energy were just different forms of the same essence. This idea is illustrated by the famous equation E equals mc squared, where matter, m, and energy, E, are interchangeable. This principle resonates deeply with the Hermetic view that everything is a vibrational manifestation of a single, fundamental essence. In short, the law of vibration is one of the pillars of Hermetic cosmology, teaching us that the universe is not a collection of separate, inert objects, but a unified field of energy in constant motion. By recognizing this law, Hermetic practitioners seek to align themselves with higher vibrations, both in the mind and spirit, ascending to a deeper understanding of the all. To deeply understand the law of vibration, it is essential to relate it to modern science, particularly the field of quantum physics, which reveals how matter and energy, at their deepest core, are in constant movement and vibration. The principle of polarity. Imagine a cosmic dance where everything that exists, light and shadow, love and hate, inspiration and fear, is orchestrated by a single universal truth. Today, we will explore this truth, the law of polarity. Get ready to dive deep into the fourth Hermetic principle and discover how it shapes the visible and invisible universe around us. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. This quote from the Kalyans forms the basis of the law of polarity, the fourth Hermetic principle. This law reveals that everything that exists is interconnected by opposite poles, hot and cold, light and dark, good and evil, positive and negative. These opposites are not enemies in an eternal conflict. They are complementary, like two forces of the same current, coexisting to create balance and movement. This law is deeply rooted in the structure of the universe, but it extends beyond the physical realm. It operates in our thoughts, emotions, and daily experiences. For example, have you ever noticed how happiness can only be understood after experiencing sadness? These extremes are two sides of the same emotional coin. On the spiritual journey, the same principle applies. What we call light could not be identified without shadow. Opposites not only coexist, but depend on each other to make sense. The universe is a dance of complementary forces. Thus, understanding the law of polarity is essential to understanding yourself and the world around you. She invites us to see reality not as a battlefield of extremes, but as a cosmic fabric where each polarity contributes to creation and universal harmony. Instead of choosing sides, we can learn to navigate between them, finding balance within the dual flow of the universe. And how do we navigate between these poles? Through the law of vibration. But we will get there. The law of polarity is not just an abstract theory. It permeates every aspect of our lives, shaping experiences, emotions, and even the simplest everyday processes. When we prepare a meal, for example, we apply heat to cold, raw foods. This interaction between extremes, positive heat and negative cold, results in something new, food ready to be consumed. Without this polarity, transformation could not occur. It is the balance of temperatures that ensures ideal cooking, not too burnt, not too raw. Polarity also reveals itself in social and political forces. In any political system, there are opposing ideas: conservatism and progressivism, right and left. Although they may appear to conflict, these forces are complementary. Both are necessary to balance society, bringing about change while ensuring stability. When one ideology completely dominates, the system becomes rigid or chaotic. The interaction of extremes creates dialogue and, ideally, progress. In the end, everything is part of a single spectrum. The law of polarity manifests itself powerfully in the realm of human emotions, where we find not just contrasts, but an intricate relationship between the opposites that shape our deepest feelings. Love is expansive. It dissolves barriers, connects us, and makes us feel aligned with something bigger than ourselves. Fear, its opposite polarity, is contractive. It pushes us away, creates barriers, and drives actions based on protection or survival instincts. These two polarities are the basis of all creation. The ultimate alchemy is the transmutation from one polarity to the other, moving from extreme fear to unconditional love. This is union with the divine. If love and fear are opposing forces that expand and contract our perception, hate and passion are poles of energy manifesting emotional intensity. Both carry fire, overpowering feelings that either draw us to something or repel us with great force. Hatred emerges as an intense response, a destructive force that rejects and seeks to eliminate the object of feeling. Passion, on the other hand, is equally intense but constructive. It drives us to create, connect, and explore. These two poles are interconnected. Human emotions are not static. They flow from one pole to the other, like a pendulum. The law of polarity teaches us that recognizing this oscillation is the first step in transforming our emotional states. Polarity is expressed in the very essence of existence. Life can only be understood because death exists, and vice versa. A tree's leaves fall in the fall to nourish the soil in the winter, allowing life to be reborn in the spring. These cycles are a constant reminder of the dance between polar opposites that occurs all the time. Even the simplest decisions we make reflect the law of polarity. Each choice implies giving up an alternative. For example, by choosing to wake up early to meditate, you forego the comfort of getting more sleep. By choosing a spiritual path, you move away from the superficiality of material life. These choices are the practical manifestation of opposites working together. There is no absolute right or wrong, just the dynamic balance between the polarities you choose to live. The basis of all matter in the universe is the atom, and its very existence is a perfect manifestation of polarity. The positively charged protons, located in the nucleus of the atom, represent the centralizing force that holds the structure together. The negatively charged electrons, orbiting around the nucleus, are dynamic forces that generate movement and energy. These opposites interact to create stability. Without this electrical polarity, atoms could not form molecules, and matter as we know it would cease to exist. The force of attraction between protons and electrons is not only functional, but also responsible for structuring everything, from the oxygen we breathe to the stars in the cosmos. Essentially, everything that exists in the manifested universe is energy oscillating between two polarities. The law of vibration determines where this energy is located in the spectrum, and consequently, its characteristics. One of the most fascinating examples of this polarity is found in electromagnetic waves, the basis for technologies such as radio, television, the internet, and even our biological systems. Electromagnetic waves are vibrations that travel through space carrying energy. They are composed of two fields, oscillating at opposite poles: the electric field, positive and negative, and the magnetic field, north and south. These fields are constantly moving, creating an interaction that drives the wave forward. It is the polarity between these fields that allows energy to travel, carrying signals from one point to another, whether through light, heat, or data transmissions. The light we see is an electromagnetic wave, just like the radio or Wi-Fi signals we use in everyday life. What differentiates one from the other is the frequency and length of the wave, both manifestations of the law of vibration, intrinsically connected to polarity. We live in a world connected by invisible networks, all based on electromagnetic waves. The duality between the electric and magnetic fields is the engine that sustains this entire technological infrastructure. When you use your smartphone or computer, electromagnetic signals are constantly being sent and received. Satellites orbiting the Earth operate on the same principles to transmit radio, TV, and GPS signals. Even the electricity that powers our devices is a direct manifestation of polarity, constantly alternating between positive and negative charges in what we call alternating current, AC. This continuous cycle allows for efficient transmission of energy. The law of polarity, in harmony with the law of vibration, is a powerful key to the conscious creation of reality. While polarity reveals the two extremes of a spectrum of possibilities, vibration is the driving force that oscillates between these poles. When we understand how these laws work together, we gain the ability to consciously shape our lives in alignment with universal forces. Polarity presents the extremes, hot and cold, love and fear, light and shadow, while vibration is the continuous movement between these extremes. Take temperature, for example. Hot and cold are not isolated qualities. They are just names we give to represent two opposite points on the same spectrum. Temperature, by increasing or decreasing vibration, can transform cold into heat and vice versa, effectively navigating along this spectrum. This logic can be applied to any situation. Imagine you are facing financial difficulties. Instead of focusing on what is missing, complaining and adopting a victim mentality, vibrating at the frequency of scarcity, lower part of the spectrum, you can deliberately practice gratitude for what you already have and visualize prosperity as a present reality. By intentionally adjusting your vibration to the abundance frequency, top of the spectrum, you will naturally attract opportunities aligned with the prosperity pole. If you think this is silly, try it. The alchemist's laboratory is in his own mind. Do the experiments yourself and then decide, based on your own experience, whether this is not how reality really works. As Heraclitus said, struggle is the mother of all things. The dialectic between opposites creates movement, growth, and evolution. There's no progress without opposition, no evolution without challenge. Life, with all its polarities, is an expression of this eternal truth. The key to true wisdom lies in understanding the necessity of opposites while transcending the idea of separation. Instead of rejecting or fighting one pole, we must learn to integrate both sides within ourselves. The true alchemy of the soul is the ability to navigate these contrasts. When you face a challenge or difficult situation, instead of focusing exclusively on the problem, on the negative side, you can choose to see the lesson or opportunity it presents on the positive side. This turns adversity into fertile ground for growth and learning. Every moment of our lives offers the opportunity to experience polarity. It is present in our relationships, emotions, choices, and even in small everyday decisions. However, true transformation occurs when we realize that we are not at the mercy of these opposites, but are co-creators of our reality. By becoming aware that everything has two polarities, we can use this as a tool to move towards growth. True freedom comes when we understand that we are more than the poles we experience. We are the consciousness behind the polarity, capable of choosing which side to align ourselves with, thus shaping our reality. What are you creating in your life today? Are you choosing to feed fear or love? The process of transformation and manifestation does not only occur in great moments, but in small daily choices, where, by balancing opposites, we can create the harmony necessary for a fuller life. By integrating and understanding the dynamics of polarity in our lives, we have the power to navigate the universe with more wisdom, freedom, and balance. The alchemy of the soul is precisely this ability to transcend extremes, to use the dynamics between opposites to create something new and transformative. When you understand that there is no separation between the poles, but an interdependence that sustains all creation, you can begin to realize the beauty of the unity that lies behind all dualities. Balance, harmony, and true evolution arise when we recognize that we are both the poles and the consciousness that transcends them. The principle of rhythm in the dance of the universe. Everything follows a rhythm. Everything oscillates. Everything pulses in perfect cycles. This is the fifth Hermetic principle, the law of rhythm, a universal principle that invites us to observe the movement of the tides, the cycle of the seasons, and even the ups and downs of our lives. Understanding this law is finding harmony in the midst of chaos, balance in the midst of change. Today, we will explore the secret behind this cosmic rhythm and how it manifests in all aspects of existence. Imagine the universe as an eternal dance, a continuous movement from one side to the other, an ebb and flow that never stops. This is rhythm, invisible but present, subtle but undeniable. The fifth Hermetic principle, known as the law of rhythm, teaches us that everything in the universe follows cycles. There is always an action and a reaction, an advance and a setback, a rise and a fall. This applies to the affairs of the universe: suns, worlds, men, animals, minds, energy, and matter. This law manifests itself in the creation and destruction of worlds, in the rise and fall of nations, in the life of all things, and finally, in the mental states of man. At his born will one day dissolve. Just as there was an emanation at the beginning of everything, at some point, the universe will stop expanding as it does now, and the reverse movement will begin, a compensation, until everything returns to its original state. This is the breath of God. The law of rhythm also governs our lives. Notice how our days oscillate between light and darkness, our emotions between joy and sadness, our moments between action and rest. It's the rhythm of life. Everything begins and ends. Understanding the law of rhythm is recognizing that nothing is permanent, neither joy nor pain. Everything is in motion, everything is temporary. Just like the pendulum, the universe also seeks balance in its oscillations. This is the secret of universal harmony on the vast stage of the universe. Rhythm is the invisible conductor. Galaxies spin in cosmic spirals. Stars are born in stellar nurseries and die in magnificent explosions, returning to the dust of space. Each pulse of light, each movement of celestial bodies follows a cycle. Nothing is stationary. Everything dances to the sound of a universal rhythm. Look at the sky. The sun rises and sets in a perfect cycle that sustains life on Earth. The phases of the moon influence tides, fertility cycles, and even our emotions. The universe breathes, expands, and contracts, as if the entire cosmos were alive. On Earth, the same principle manifests itself. The seasons follow each other in perfect harmony. Spring brings life, summer ripens, autumn harvests, and winter rests. It is the eternal cycle of renewal. Just like in nature, everything in our existence is governed by cycles, ebb and flow, birth and death, inhalation and exhalation. Rhythm is the signature of the whole. By observing it, we discover that change is not our enemy, but part of the dance of life. Understanding this principle aligns us with the cosmic order, accepting that even the most powerful forces follow the compass of universal harmony. Rhythm is not just an external force, it is within us. Blood flows through our veins steadily, the heart beats at a unique cadence, and our breathing follows the rhythm of life. Everything vibrates in tune with this law. What about ocean tides? They advance and retreat, as if following a celestial choreography dictated by the moon. Just as waters move in cycles, our thoughts and emotions also have their ups and downs. Nothing escapes the pendulum movement of the rhythm. Note the hidden harmony in every aspect of nature. Rivers flow to the sea, but never in a chaotic manner. They follow the path shaped by gravity and terrain. Trees grow slowly in cycles of expansion and rest, respecting the seasons. Even the smallest insect in the forest lives in tune with its environment. The law of rhythm is a reminder that the universe is not chaotic, but deeply ordered. Behind every apparent disorder, there is a precise dance, an oscillation that maintains the balance of the whole. When we look closely, we see that chaos is just a rhythm that we don't yet understand. When we align ourselves with natural cycles, we live in harmony with the universe. And just as the sun always rises after the darkest night, we can trust that after each fall, there will be a rebirth. This is the eternal pulse of creation, a truth that resonates in every corner of the cosmos. In our lives, rhythm also silently governs each moment. From the moment we are born, we begin to dance with the cycles of existence. Childhood fills us with energy and discovery. Youth drives us with passion and ambition. Maturity brings responsibility and reflection. And old age teaches us the wisdom of rest. Everything has its time, and each phase has its purpose. But rhythm isn't just present in life's big transitions. It manifests itself in our daily lives. Some days we are full of energy, inspired, ready to conquer the world. In others we feel tired, needing silence and a break. This movement between uppies and downs is natural, part of the pendulum that oscillates incessantly within us. Even our emotions obey this principle. There are moments of joy, when the world seems to shine, followed by periods of sadness or restlessness. Resisting these fluctuations is futile. Trying to remain in a permanent state, whether of happiness or stability, is like trying to stop the flow of a river. The secret is to observe without attachment. When you are in a moment of ascension, enjoy it, but know that it will end. When you are in a challenging period, remember that it is temporary. The tide always changes. As the Persian poet Rumi said, "This time of trouble will also pass." It is the pendulum of life, swinging from one extreme to the other, but always returning to balance. The law of rhythm is not a punishment or a trap. It is a reminder that everything we experience is part of a larger dance. When we understand this, we stop fighting the tides and start sailing with them. This is the path to harmony. Think of emotions as an invisible pendulum that continually swings between extremes. In a moment we feel joy and enthusiasm, the lightness of a heart at peace. The next, we may be overcome by sadness, anger, or discouragement. This oscillation is a natural part of the universal cycle that governs all existence. However, most of us try to resist this movement. When we're happy, we want to freeze the moment, hold on to the feeling as if we could hold on to it forever. But the pendulum must swing. It is driven by the force of the universe itself. The more we cling to the positive side, the more intensely it swings to the opposite. Here's the trick. The greater the enthusiasm, the greater the potential for melancholy. On the other hand, when we are in negative emotional states, we often fight against them, seeking an immediate escape. But just as the pendulum returns to center, the challenging emotion will also pass. Resisting it is like trying to hold back the waves of the sea with your hands. The secret is to allow the movement to happen without fighting, without attachment. Spiritual masters of all ages have taught us the same truth. Neutrality is the key. Hermes Trismegistus wrote, "The master is not a slave to the pendulum. He observes the movement, but is not carried away by it." Understanding this wisdom means learning to remain at the point of balance, at the center of the pendulum. This is where peace lies. When you feel a strong emotion, whether good or bad, pause and observe the feeling as if you were a spectator. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this? Where is this pendulum going? This simple observation practice can break the automatic reaction cycle and bring clarity. Imagine your emotions as the weather. One day it could be sunny and warm. The next it could be raining and cold. You don't control the weather, but you can decide how to respond to it. The law of rhythm teaches us not to identify with extremes. We are not the storm nor the radiant sun. We are the unchanging sky that watches the changes. Understanding the emotional pendulum is liberating. It's accepting that nothing lasts forever, neither moments of difficulty nor moments of ecstasy. This knowledge does not leave us indifferent, but makes us wiser. It allows us to enjoy the highs without getting lost in them and face the lows without being destroyed. At the center of the pendulum, we find balance, and with it, true freedom. In essence, the law of compensation manifests itself as the expression of universal balance. The term compensation carries the idea of counterbalancing, and that is exactly how Hermetists use the concept. When Kalyan says, "The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left," the rhythm compensates. It reveals the hidden dynamics that govern every aspect of the universe, from the simplest physical experiences to the most complex manifestations of the spirit. In the cosmic dance of the universe, the law of compensation acts as guardian of the balance between opposites. In simple terms, movement in one direction always finds its response in the opposite direction, and thus, one movement compensates for the other. The principle of cause and effect. Imagine an immense cosmic loom, where each thread is intertwined with absolute precision, creating the grand carpet of existence. Every event, every thought, Every breath is part of this masterful project. There are no loose threads, no accidents. Everything you have ever experienced, unexpected encounters, painful challenges, moments of ecstasy, all have an origin, a cause, and every cause has its effect. Everything happens according to the law. What we call chance is, in fact, a name given to an unrecognized law. This is the law of cause and effect, the sixth Hermetic principle. This law is the principle that governs the universal loom. When we understand its depth, we realize that nothing in life is arbitrary. What we call luck or misfortune is, in fact, the effect of invisible causes that we planted in the past, sometimes in this life, other times in other dimensions of our existence. Today, we will embark on this journey of discovery together, unraveling the mysteries of the law of cause and effect, and learning how it governs our reality. Most importantly, we will learn to master it, to become architects of our own destiny. Every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to the law. Chance is nothing more than a name for an unrecognized law. This teaching, extracted from Kiban, invites us to look at reality with a keen perception, recognizing that behind the apparent chaos of the universe, there is a sublime and impeccable order. The law of cause and effect is the invisible foundation of all existence. It teaches us that every event we experience, from the greatest achievements to the most painful challenges, is the result of a chain of causes. Nothing happens by chance. Every effect we encounter is a direct reflection of causes, some visible, others hidden in the depths of existence. But here lies the secret understood by initiates. There are different levels of causality. Most people operate on the physical plane, reacting to external causes such as leaves moving in the wind. They feel at the mercy of greater forces, prisoners of circumstances they believe are beyond their control. The Hermeticist, on the other hand, knows that the most powerful causes are not born on the physical plane, but on the mental plane. As Kalian teaches, the mind is the field of creation where the first seeds of each cause are planted. Our thoughts, intentions, and emotions are causal forces that shape not only our actions, but also the experiences we attract. Consider this example. A word spoken in anger may seem like a momentary reaction, but it is the effect of a previous cause, a thought or feeling that already vibrated within you. This word, in turn, generates new effects, a conflict, a rupture, or even a learning opportunity. Thus the chain of causality continues infinitely in all directions. What Kiban teaches us is that chance is simply the name we give to our ignorance of the law. When we understand this truth, a world of possibilities opens up. We no longer need to be spectators of life, affected by the effects of causes we do not understand. We can become conscious creators, planting the seeds of the future we want to harvest. Imagine rolling a dice. When it lands on the table and shows a number, it may seem like it happened by chance, like it was pure luck. But in reality, things don't work like that. Everything in the world happens for a reason. Think about the dice. The number that appears depends on several factors: how you held it, how hard you threw it, how it spun through the air, and even the surface where it landed. All these factors together determine the number that will appear. It's not luck or misfortune. It's a set of causes that makes this happen. The word chance is often used when we don't know or can't see all the reasons behind something. For example, when you flip a coin, it may land heads or tails. It seems random, but if we could observe exactly how the coin was tossed, the force applied, and even the wind in the air, we could predict which side would land up. Kalian uses the example of a storm to illustrate this idea. For many, a sudden storm may seem fortuitous or random. However,
Storm formation follows precise meteorological laws, where conditions of pressure, temperature, humidity, and other factors align specifically to produce it. With knowledge of all these conditions, the storm could be accurately predicted. Thus, what seemed to be chance is nothing more than a natural event guided by precise causes. The same applies to human life. Many consider success or failure to be a matter of luck. However, every event in our lives is the effect of a cause, be it an action, a thought, or even a choice, made long ago. Everything we do generates results, even if we can't see the consequences immediately. Trying to understand the law of cause and effect just through the movements of the physical plane is like looking at the tip of an iceberg and believing that it is the entire structure. It's a limited perspective. Hermeticism transcends this view, revealing that causality operates simultaneously on multiple planes: mental, astral, and physical. To understand the depth of this law, we must explore its manifestations in all these dimensions. Since the time of Sir Isaac Newton, the principle of causality has been a foundation of science. Newton's third law states, "For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction." This idea, although simple, deeply echoes the Hermetic principle. In the physical universe, no force, movement, or event occurs without a prior cause. When an apple falls from a tree, it is the effect of gravity. When a stone hits a lake, the waves formed are the direct effect of the initial action. But modern physics has taken this concept even further. In quantum mechanics, we find that causality can operate in mysterious and seemingly paradoxical ways. Quantum entanglement, for example, suggests that particles separated by vast distances can influence each other instantaneously, defying our linear understanding of cause and effect. This raises the question, is there a deeper dimension where invisible causes operate beyond time and space? The Hermetists would respond with a resounding yes. They have always known that causality transcends the physical world, manifesting itself on more subtle levels of existence. Hermetic sages have long emphasized that causality is not merely linear, but multidimensional. This means that the cause of an event on the physical plane can originate from a thought, intention, or emotion on the mental plane. Franz Barden, in Initiation to Hermeticism, states that true creation begins on higher planes. What we see in the physical world is just the delayed reflection of what has already been shaped on the mental and astral planes. For example, a persistent fearful thought can create tension in the physical body, leading to illness. On the other hand, thoughts of love and gratitude can promote states of well-being and health. The word karma comes from Sanskrit and literally means action. However, in a spiritual context, it refers to the totality of consequences generated by our actions, thoughts, and intentions. Every cause we create, consciously or not, leaves a mark on the fabric of the universe, and these marks eventually return to us as effects. Herein lies the secret of karma. It's not just about what we do, but how we do it. The same action can generate different karma depending on the intention behind it. For example, helping someone with the desire to inflate one's ego generates one type of energy, while helping with true compassion generates another. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that action is inevitable, but the true sage acts without attachment to the fruits of his actions. The law of cause and effect, in a Hermetic context, operates on all planes, physical, mental, and spiritual. Karma is the manifestation of this law when viewed through the soul's journey over multiple lifetimes. While the law of cause and effect teaches that every action generates a reaction, karma broadens this perspective,
showing that these reactions may not manifest immediately or even within the same lifetime. Karma thus functions as a universal system of balance, ensuring that no cause is left without its corresponding effect. One of the most striking aspects of karma is its relationship to time. While the law of cause and effect on the physical plane can generate immediate results, such as touching fire and being burned, spiritual karma operates in longer cycles. Its causes can span multiple lifetimes, creating repetitive patterns that provide opportunities for learning and evolution. These patterns are known as karmic cycles. For example, someone who abused power in one life may be reincarnated in circumstances where they experience powerlessness, allowing them to learn the lesson of empathy and balance. One of the biggest misconceptions about karma is seeing it as a system of punishment and reward. In fact, karma is a pedagogical mechanism designed to teach us universal laws and guide our soul towards harmony. Karma does not give us back what we deserve, but what we need to grow, what we create ourselves. It offers us the chance to recognize our mistakes, mend our ways, and align our lives with higher laws. The law of cause and effect and karma do not exist to imprison us, but to free us. When we understand its dynamics, we stop being victims of destiny and become masters of our reality. As Eliphas Levi said, "Whoever knows the law does not complain about it. Instead, he uses it for his purpose." We live in a world where many feel at the mercy of circumstances. Most people believe they are victims of external forces, fate, luck, or misfortune. This perception creates a feeling of powerlessness, an invisible prison where responsibility for destiny is handed over to something or someone outside of oneself. But the law of cause and effect offers extraordinary liberation. It reveals that we are the creators, consciously or not, of everything we experience. The first step to mastery is taking full responsibility for your life. This does not mean blaming yourself for the past, but understanding that in some way, you were the cause of everything you experienced, whether through thoughts, actions, or inactions. Everything in the universe operates according to law. When we stop blaming the world and start looking within, we free ourselves from the role of victim. We become aware that every choice, thought, and action has an impact on the world around us and what we receive in return. The true master is the one who not only reacts to circumstances, but consciously creates new conditions. He watches his choices and intentionally plants the seeds he wants to harvest. Imagine that your mind is a fertile field, and that each thought is a seed. Thoughts of fear, doubt, or resentment will bear bitter fruit, but thoughts of courage, love, and gratitude will yield a harvest of harmony and prosperity. Franz Barden, in Initiation to Hermeticism, emphasizes that the magician works on the mental plane before any other. The mind is the first engine. What we create in the mind inevitably manifests on the material plane. By mastering the mind, you master the cause. And by mastering the cause, you master the effect. Even the wisest masters cannot escape the causes they have planted in the past. But instead of resisting the unwanted effects, the master embraces them as precious lessons. He understands that each challenge is an opportunity for growth and alignment with the law. The Buddha said, "What you are today is the result of your thoughts yesterday. What you will be tomorrow is the result of your thoughts today." What distinguishes the master from the victim is not the absence of challenges, but the way he faces them. The master sees the effects in his life not as punishments or rewards, but as perfect reflections of his own actions and intentions. He understands that life does not happen to him, but through him. By mastering the law of cause and effect, you become free. Not a freedom that escapes the law, as that is impossible, but a freedom that arises from alignment with it. You become the conscious creator of your reality, a true alchemist who transforms every moment into an opportunity for evolution and self-mastery. As Kalyan teaches, freedom lies in understanding the law. From this point on, the question we must ask ourselves is, what seeds are we planting today? Are we creating the reality we desire, or perpetuating patterns that imprison us? The answer is in your hands. Be the master. The principle of gender. Imagine a small seed, seemingly inert and almost insignificant, until it is placed in the ground. But something magical happens when the seed, which carries within itself the masculine principle of potentiality, meets the fertile soil, which represents the feminine principle of nourishment and receptivity. Together they begin a process that transforms something seemingly simple into a majestic tree, full of life and purpose. This natural phenomenon is a perfect manifestation of the law of gender, the seventh of the Hermetic principles. Just like the seed and the soil, everything in the universe, including our minds and spirits, depends on the interaction and balance between masculine and feminine energies to create, transform, and manifest. In this video, we will explore how this universal law applies to all aspects of existence, from the physical to the spiritual, revealing the secrets of how these two opposing yet complementary forces work together to sustain all of creation. The law of gender is one of the most profound among the 7 Hermetic principles. She transcends the common notion of masculine and feminine, connecting to a universal dynamic of polarities that permeates all creation. At the heart of this law is the understanding that everything in the universe contains 2 complementary principles, masculine and feminine. These do not just refer to biological or social aspects, but to archetypal forces that shape the functioning of all existence. The masculine represents active, expansive, and projective energy. It is the creative impulse, the initiating will, the spark that sets the movement in motion. He is like the sunbeam that touches the earth, without which life could not germinate. The feminine symbolizes receptive, nourishing, and generating energy, the fertile soil that turns a seed into a tree. It embodies introspection, intuition, and the ability to create from within. These forces are not opposites in the sense of conflict, but complementary, like 2 halves of a whole that together create universal harmony. Masculine energy is not exclusive to men, just as feminine energy does not belong exclusively to women. These forces are universal, residing in all beings and constantly interacting within us. In the Hermetic context, masculine energy is the active principle, movement, logic, direction, and creative force. It is the spark that transforms potential into reality. Without it, there is no action. Without action, there is no creation. But, like every universal principle, masculine energy needs balance. When in harmony, it is like a flowing stream, moving mountains and fertilizing land. When unbalanced, it can become a destructive tsunami. Masculine energy is often symbolized by the sun, sword, or lightning. These archetypes represent your nature. It brings insight and reason, light and clarity, illuminating the path ahead. It provides us with the motivation to overcome obstacles and face challenges with strength and courage, like an arrow pointing to its target. It is the force that keeps us focused on our goals. This energy is associated with the left hemisphere of the brain, which governs logical reasoning, analysis, and strategy. When channeled well, It makes us achievers. In Carl Jung's analytical psychology, masculine energy appears in archetypes such as the warrior, with his courage and discipline, reminding us that strength is not only in the physical, but also in the determination to face challenges. The king, a symbol of leadership and integrity, guides with wisdom and creates stability. The magician, who transforms knowledge into power, represents the logic and curiosity of the male spirit. The lover, who directs passion to create and nurture meaningful connections. These archetypes are facets of the masculine that we must integrate into balance to access our full potential. When masculine energy loses its balance, the signs are clear. The individual tries to dominate everything and everyone, believing that his vision is the only correct one. This authoritarianism manifests itself in rigid attitudes, with no room to listen or adapt. This behavior stifles relationships, blocks creativity, and creates a constant climate of tension. The desire to compete becomes an addiction. Everything becomes a battle to prove superiority, even when unnecessary. In excessive competitiveness, this mentality generates isolation, transforming allies into rivals. Logic takes complete control, silencing all emotions. This can lead to a feeling of emptiness, as if the person is in a constant fight against the world without understanding why. On the other hand, when masculine energy is lacking, certain problems arise. The potential exists, but the strength to realize it is absent. The individual feels unable to act, postponing decisions and responsibilities, leading to procrastination and apathy. The days pass without purpose, like a boat adrift. Without the masculine drive, there is no clarity of purpose. Life becomes a sequence of meaningless actions, resulting in frustration and a feeling of futility. This leads to insecurity and passivity. Lack of confidence in one's own power leads to dependence on others to make decisions. Instead of leading, the individual becomes a spectator of their own life. The person demonstrates fragility in the face of challenges. Masculine energy gives us the courage to face difficulties. Without it, even small obstacles become insurmountable barriers. Masculine energy is the fire that warms and transforms. When balanced, it guides us with courage, clarity, and purpose. It is not only a force that builds, but also that protects, leads, and inspires. Cultivating it is an act of self-love, a recognition of the divine power that exists within each of us. Feminine energy is the receptive, fluid, and intuitive side of all things. It manifests in the right hemisphere of our brain and is deeply connected to feelings, delicacy, intuition, attention to detail, perceptions, receptivity, ancestral wisdom, compassion, patience, lightness, creativity, and art. This force is present in everyone, regardless of biological gender, as one of the fundamental poles of universal balance. While masculine energy acts like an arrow that advances, feminine energy is the space that embraces, transforms, and gives meaning to action. In Hermeticism, feminine energy is the passive principle, but not in the sense of inertia. Passivity here means receptivity, the ability to absorb, nurture, and transform. It is the mystery, the intuition that connects us to the invisible, the force that helps us create bonds and feel the flow of life in its fullness. This energy manifests itself in moments of pause, inner listening, and compassion. It is what allows us to understand without words, feel beyond reason, and create from nothing. One of the most obvious examples of feminine energy in nature is the lunar cycle. The moon, with its phases of waxing and waning, symbolizes the fluidity, receptivity, and transformation that characterize feminine energy. Just as the moon influences the tides, feminine energy has an invisible but deeply impactful power that governs cycles and processes. During the growth from new moon to full moon, we see the ability to embrace and nurture, while in decline, from the waning moon to the new moon, we realize the power of introspection and renewal. This cycle reflects the very essence of the feminine, creating, transforming, and resting in perfect harmony with the natural rhythm. Jung identified, in the collective unconscious, a series of archetypes that represent aspects of feminine energy. The mother, nurturer, protector, source of life and security. This archetype represents the ability to care, nurture, and protect, both physically and emotionally. In nature, this is seen in animals that care for their young, or in the fertile earth that nourishes us. The maiden represents youth, potential, innocence, and curiosity. She is creative energy and the beginning of new cycles. It symbolizes purity and enthusiasm for life, bringing a renewing energy like spring when everything blooms and new beginnings become possible. The witch represents introspection and the accumulated knowledge of life, which guides and illuminates with deep wisdom, like the waning moon, which brings stillness and moments of reflection. The queen, who combines the power to lead with the heart to nurture, is fair and compassionate, ruling with wisdom and balance, representing feminine energy at its peak. But just like masculine energy, feminine energy can also become unbalanced, manifesting in harmful ways, whether in excess or deficiency. When feminine energy is in excess, we lose our center and are dominated by emotions without the necessary structure to face challenges. Everything becomes too intense. Small problems are amplified, and there is a tendency to drown in feelings such as sadness, anxiety, or fear. There is a lack of limits. Extreme receptivity leads to an inability to say no. People, ideas, and situations enter life indiscriminately, causing overload or victimization. The person feels trapped by circumstances, unable to take control, and begins to blame external factors for their situation. When feminine energy is deficient, we lose connection with our creative and nourishing essence, leading to a distancing from intuition. There is difficulty listening to oneself or understanding what others feel. The person becomes rigid, moving away from the natural flow of life. Ideas stop emerging. The inner world feels dry, and the joy of creating or nurturing disappears. Without feminine energy, empathy fades, and the person can become distant and cold. When feminine energy is balanced, the benefits become evident in various aspects of life. There is greater empathy, the ability to listen and understand others without burdening relationships with unrealistic expectations or emotional dependencies. There is a reconnection with intuition. The power of feminine energy lies in its ability to generate life, connect deeply with others, and create from nothing, like Mother Earth, who generates and nurtures. When balanced, it is a source of wisdom, creativity, and inner peace, allowing the flow of life and the ability to adapt to challenges with serenity and strength. Its true power lies in its gentleness and ability to perceive and transform the world from the inside out. The law of gender transcends humanity and permeates the entire universe, from the vast cosmic expanses to microscopic processes. It is the force that governs creation and movement. To understand this law in its entirety, we must observe its manifestations in the different areas of existence, where active and receptive masculine and feminine principles collaborate to create, transform, and sustain. The law of gender is not confined to the visible world or the physical plane. According to Kaiban, it is a force that crosses all levels of existence, manifesting itself in a unique and complementary way on the three great planes: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. Each plane reflects this dance between masculine and feminine principles, demonstrating how the universe is governed by the harmony of polarities. In the plant kingdom, the interaction between masculine and feminine energies is essential for the perpetuation of life. Male pollen is carried by wind or insects to the ovary of female flowers, where fertilization occurs, resulting in fruits and seeds. Many animals exhibit mating rituals that reflect this dance of polarities. The male action, and the female, who chooses and nurtures, ensuring the continuity of the species. In the great theater of existence, the relationship between the masculine and feminine principles is like a cosmic dance, where each plays an indispensable role in creation. The masculine principle carries the responsibility of directing the energy, acting as the initial force that awakens and activates the creative potential of the feminine principle. However, it is the feminine, in its essence, that carries out the act of creation. This dynamic manifests itself on all planes of existence, whether physical, mental, or spiritual. The feminine is the matrix that transforms impulse into form, giving life to what was previously just a possibility, and yet neither can act alone. The masculine, however powerful, is incapable of producing results without the receptive feminine, and the feminine, however fertile, lacks the creative impulse provided by the masculine. This union is reflected in the very structure of life, in many forms of existence. Both principles are integrated into a single being, coexisting as inseparable parts of a whole. This is why, in every aspect of the organic world, we find the masculine within the feminine, and the feminine within the masculine, like yin and yang dancing in eternal harmony. Inside every human being, there is a sun and a moon, a king and a queen. When both dance in harmony, the soul flourishes. The balance between the masculine and feminine energies within us is the secret to achieving harmony, creating a powerful magnetic field capable of attracting everything we desire into our lives. Ancient alchemists called this union an alchemical marriage, symbolizing the fusion of active masculine and receptive feminine principles to create a whole, awakened being. This inner marriage is the key to transforming the ordinary self into an enlightened and fulfilled version of yourself. Alchemical marriage is not merely a metaphor, but a spiritual and psychological practice that refers to the process of integrating internal opposites. Masculine energy represents logic, action, and focus, while feminine energy symbolizes intuition, receptivity, and creativity. Together they form the perfect unity, like yin and yang in Taoism, where each force contains a little of the other. To achieve balance, it is essential to recognize which of these two energies you perceive more strongly in your life. This reveals which internal energy is currently dominating. Now let's explore some simple practices to help balance these energies within you. Dance and body movement. Dance is a symbolic and physical practice that balances both energies. Dance freely, letting your body flow to the rhythm of the music, female. Then incorporate deliberate, rhythmic movements, male. Cultivate intuition and action. Integrate moments of introspection with concrete actions. Take time to listen to your intuition, feminine, before acting, but plan your steps clearly, masculine, to manifest your intentions. Work with internal archetypes. The masculine and feminine principles can be seen as archetypes, like the king and queen or the warrior and the sage. Ask yourself which internal archetype needs strengthening and visualize yourself incorporating its qualities into your daily life. Integrating these energies is not just a spiritual practice. but something that can be applied to your routine. See how to balance them in different areas of life. At work, use your masculine energy to organize tasks and achieve goals, but trust your feminine energy to find creative and intuitive solutions. In relationships, let the masculine lead with courage and protection, while the feminine nurtures, understands, listens, and embraces. In spirituality, seek the divine with discipline and devotion, masculine, but also with dedication and confidence, feminine. In esoteric traditions, alchemical marriage is often represented by the union of archetypes, such as the marriage between the king and queen in medieval alchemy. This symbol reminds us that true union does not occur outside of us, but within us. When we recognize that all polarities exist within our own soul, the union of masculine and feminine is not the meeting of opposing forces, but the merging of who we already are. It is the moment when we stop being fragments and become the whole. Thanks for watching.